Take 12, the good one. Hi, everybody. Thank you guys so much for stopping by today. We have a recording from a live stream with Coach Koby about a week ago. I hope that you guys enjoy it. The community that was watching it live certainly seemed to. If you did like it, please leave a comment down below. If you didn't like it, also, I'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Enjoy. All right. With that said, I think that we're ready to hop into the review. What do you think?
Yeah, let's get going. So,
all right.
This is also a little different for me because I'm not driving the actual VOD here because obviously it's your stream. So chat, please bear with us here while we kind of flush out exactly maybe some of the actual driving pieces here.
It's going to be a bit of a it's going to be a learning curve for everybody involved here.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, we're gonna have some fun with it too. So yeah, for sure. Let's roll into it. What do we got for comps?
All right, so we'll go ahead and get going here.
Cool.
So
we're on Ash, it looks like. I know you mentioned to me, at least in our kind of preliminary discussion, that you predominantly play hit scan, right?
That's right.
Okay,
yep.
Awesome.
Almost entirely hit scan. I cannot for the life of me play Genji or Doom at all. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So cool. So we're a hit scan specialist. That's great. A lot of people love. Every team needs a hit scan specialist in particular, and we watched yesterday. I told you I was impressed with your tracking, so I definitely think it's where you belong. So now this is a solo queue game, right?
This is solo queue, correct?
Cool. All right.
So right now I'm just hanging out, talking to him, trying to figure out what the plan is.
Sure. All right, cool. So pause this right here. Let's actually start here. So, I wanna kind of think right away. What are you thinking as the doors open here? Where are we? What are you thinking to set up? What was the plan? Do you know? And I don't want to focus on this case in general. I'm looking for kind of your thought process whenever the doors open and you're playing a hit scan. What are you thinking first?
So almost always coming up here, I'll either pop up here just like I did, or I'll come around to the stairs.
Yeah.
And then I always look up top here first.
Cool. Yeah, not necessarily on this map in particular. I mean, obviously, I think the cliche everyone knows, right? Hit scans play from high ground, right? That's what we're gonna try to get and hold a high ground as much as possible. And we're gonna talk about some things as we get into this too. But hey, right when the doors open is kind of almost when one of the periods where your brain is kind of, at least in my opinion, should be kind of turned on the most, right? So, you right away, knowing the map, like you said, I'm going to hop up here. I'm going to immediately scan for a threat, right, on the high ground or wherever you said you're going to look.
Right.
And then, you kind of have, I want to control the high ground. I would assume that's kind of the first thing of logic is that I want to occupy the lane that is high ground. We'll maybe talk about lanes a little bit later. So, cool. Yeah, hit play. Let's go. All right, cool. So we did our scan. Looks like we're gonna kind of push in. Good dynamite, trying to clear. All right, cool. So we're gonna rotate right. Ryan's not gonna let us through. We might have a chance to kill him right away. Good job. So that's a cool little tech. I like the pop shot and the kill. So they're gonna give us whole left side. Looks like Sigma's gonna push right here. Now, okay, pause it. Cool. So again, we did a great job of punishing that Ryan's kind of misplay. He kind of got way out in front way too early. That was awesome. Your team got a kill out of him first without even your ball or anyone having to go too deep on your relatively quickly moving comp. So here we're kind of faced with a decision, right? We can either go right to follow the Sigma and kind of play that way, but that leaves us kind of exposed, or we can kind of go with the ball and break left. Now what did we just say we want to try to control?
High ground.
High ground, right? So what high grounds are available to us from this position after we've punished the Rhine?
We have the top left, which you can see right here. We have their high ground, which you can see their soldier and Baptiste are up there, and then we have the high ground behind us on the right.
Exactly, yeah. So now here's where we're going to talk about something that right away kind of makes sense. Obviously, I don't think it makes sense to play on the high ground behind us at this point, right? We're not going to get much value out of there. But what I would like to kind of see you immediately rotate to is potentially try to grab that high ground off to the back left. And ultimately, the end goal is for you to kind of move onto that bunker high ground, right, where the soldier and the Baptiste are. That's where you can see everything. That's where you can threaten them as they kind of come back in towards the point, as they try to egress the retake. We did pick the Ryan early, so we have the Ryan coming back. So let's pay attention and see kind of where we kind of move. But just in general, I think that, you know, we're set up pretty strong here. We have them pinched with a Sigma on the right and ball on the left. We should have enough free space to go get the high ground on the left if that's what we choose to do. So let's see.
Right. All right, here we go. Oh, also, real quick, chat. How are the audio levels? How are my audio levels? How are Koby's audio levels? How's the music volume? What do you guys? Is everything all good for you guys? Audio levels are good? Okay.
Those are good. Sweet.
Sweet.
Awesome. Cool. So it looks like we're trying to get the dynamite. Okay, let's pause for a sec. So it looks like you guys just kind of swept through them here.
Yeah,
you kind of just hard rolled them. You know, you taking high ground necessarily wouldn't even have been advantageous for the fight in this case, just because they were gonna, you know, if their Ryan at this point tries to recontest, maybe he does. You guys just have this, so that's a really awesome.
Thank you very much for that sub. I really appreciate that.
Something I was going to talk about, we kind of rolled right into it, is at this point we know what their comp is, right? We know what they're playing,
right?
So here's kind of what I want you to be thinking about on every roll. Is we talked right away about kind of, well, what's the plan? You know, what space am I going to try to occupy? What am I going to threaten? We'll evolve more into that in a second. But I think it's also important for you at this point to say, okay, I know I want to hold high ground, right? And as the fight progresses, the goal will be to try to take left for a little more safe pick. As we kind of flush them, I'm going to try to deny them this bunker high ground here and kind of help with a recontest, right? And then the next logical line of thought is, now that you've seen their whole comp, is, okay, what threatens me, right? Depending on the hero I'm playing, depending on where I want to play, what threatens my plan to occupy the high ground lane? So on their team, what do they have that kind of threatens, or that can threaten you on high ground?
For the most part, number one, anybody that chooses to go high ground on their team. And then,
so it looks like, good.
And then otherwise, it's going to be their Ashe, and that's about it. Ashe, maybe Soldier. A little bit of BAP.
A little bit of BAP, exactly. Cool. So really, not much is the answer, right? They don't have a Genji that's going to come get you on high ground if you're on high ground alone. They don't have a Doom that's going to fly in and get you. You know, they don't have a Ball that's gonna come find you. So largely you're going to be spatially, you know, not threatened. That being said, you know that they have 2 hit scans as well. So in your head, you should kind of be identifying the threats as things that threaten your position. You know, we've established that you are going to derive the most value from playing high ground, supporting your team from above. Well, now we need to kind of quantify and start to already think ahead of how we're going to stop the enemy team from stopping you from doing that. So already you say, okay, well, you know, you probably as one person on high ground can't keep up with the damage of Ashe or their Soldier.
Right.
So we haven't seen where their Ashe or their Soldier are going to play yet. We did see Soldier play on the bunker on high ground, which does imply that he has some idea that's kind of where he should be. Regardless, I think that, you know, the first thing you need to be considering here is, okay, we've kind of just put in our head that we're going to be threatened on high ground by, nothing's going to dive us, but they have 2 hit scans that can kind of poke me off of high ground, or can force me to rotate back, or potentially even just kill me quickly. That being said, what you need to do is say, okay, how do I handle those? How do I contain those threats? So the first thing you should be thinking is okay, I'm going to make sure that I am in a position where my target priority is going to make sure I know where those threats are, right? So as you're playing, I'd like to see, say, okay, I need to know where their Ashe is, because their Ashe can take me off high ground. Or I need to know where their Soldier is, because their Soldier can put a ton of damage to me, which in turn can deny my value. So if you can identify and then either kill those threats before they kill you, take the Ashe tool, right? Or play at an angle where you threaten things where they can't see you, then that's kind of what we want to do. So we want to put in our head right away as, okay, this is what's threatening me. We know we need to kind of focus on those things. So before we can kind of let this play while we cap the point here, and I want to kind of talk really quickly. And what I'm going to say right now, I'm going to teach you a term that is completely commonsensical, that you already know, but I'm going to put a word to it that you've probably never heard before. And this is really important. And once I tell you this, we can pause this here. Looks like the Rhino is going to push back. So once I say this, this is something that you will always work on from now until you stop playing shooter games, in every game on every hero that shoots. So What we're going to talk about next is called angle isolations. Do you have any idea what an angle ISO is, or an angle isolation is technically?
I've heard the term, but it's mostly making sure that you know what angles you can be picked from, and pick the angle that, generally speaking, either makes it very hard for them to see you, or gives you a very advantageous position to hit them.
That's exactly right. So we talk about angle isolations, particular on a bunch of different heroes, on hit scans in particular. And what you said is exactly right. Only it's both things, right? So we always want to position ourselves into an angle where we threaten the most, right? The angles that we threaten are several, right? We want to threaten the most angles while subsequently minimizing the angles from which we take damage. If you think about it, that's the core of high ground in and of itself, right? You're a hit scan player. You want to play on high ground because you see everything, and things below you have a harder time hitting you, therefore maximizing your angle isolations. Now, the same is true as we kind of move into, second point on Blizzard World. As you kind of move here, there's obviously like the big floating die in the middle of the middle of point 2 here, where you can be threatened from a bunch and you can threaten a bunch simultaneously. But being aware of those angle ISOs is super important, right? Because especially when we're playing against 2 hit scans like we are in this case, we just talked about it. We want to make sure we know where they are and make sure they can't threaten us, or we're going to take the fight first. So obviously right now we see the Ashe kind of in a somewhat predictable position on back high ground. So we're confident in ourselves that we can win this Ashe 1v1. We don't necessarily see her, but when we're taking this fight, if we choose to take this fight, and again, I've never seen the VOD before, so as we're taking this fight, we want to make sure that you're kind of establishing a position where you threaten the Ashe, but subsequently maybe you can't be threatened by the soldier or the Baptiste as well. Obviously, you wouldn't take the fight if you had to fight the soldier and the Ashe. That's not good for you.
Right.
So we can hit play and see where it goes, but angle isolations, it's always what angles do I threaten? What angles am I threatened from? And what we always want to try to threaten more angles than we are threatened from. Sometimes that's unavoidable. If that's not the case, right? If we're threatened from more angles than we threaten from, unless we have another very strong reason for playing there, it likely helps dictate that we're out of position, or that maybe we should try to establish a different angle line of fire.
Right.
So let's go ahead and watch the second point here. Again, let's try to get some high ground. So hopefully we see some high ground play. But just in general, angle isolations, we're always thinking about it. Hey, how do I threaten more angles than this? Perfect. So let's go first person on you. Great, love it. Where we want to be? Awesome. All right, pause it. See, so right there, that's great. We took the high ground, right? Why? I'm not gonna ask you why we dropped, because it doesn't matter, right? Games in the past, but that's a good example of we don't need to drop there. Let's stay up. Let's keep outputting damage. But again, we talked about, right? What threatens us on our high ground? Why would we need to drop? And that's while taking damage. And how are we going to take damage? Well, it's going to be soldier and Ashe. So as we hop up to high ground, we can predictably assume that their hit scans are also going to be on high ground, right?
Right.
So because we can predictably assume that, we should be automatically going, okay, let me locate these hit scans and see if we want to take the fight, or see if I want to pick a different angle, or see if I can add value a different way. So that's kind of the idea. And I'm gonna throw a bone to Panda here in chat. So the number one goal at any point in time, I say it specifically to support players, but if Panda's still in chat, Panda, why don't you remind everyone what the number one goal is at any point in time in Overwatch? We'll see what he says in a minute. But regardless, we want to make sure we take the fight. So we could have jumped up. We ended up jumping down. Keep playing. Let's see how it goes here.
Okay.
Good dynamite. Again, we recognize we have a couple hits up there. Good. Looks like we have 3 of them up there. It's hard to take that fight, but that's what you want. Because if so now let's talk about Overwatch as a resource game while we fight this. They just had too much up there. They have 4 people playing up there. You just got hard melted.
Yep, that was a lot.
Well, again, you took an angle that I would consider to be 90 degrees, right? That's just kind of right in their face. You didn't really have a whole lot of other options. But that being said, what else could we have done there?
Could have gone behind the pillar on the low ground on the right.
Yeah. So sorry. Good.
We could have gone down to low ground, way over on the right side. If we,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
bear
so
with
the
me,
other
guys.
thing-
So I could have tried to go over here and use the payload,
Sure.
exactly like what our Hanzo is doing.
Yep.
Could have gone over here to go here.
Yeah.
Up here was just too much. I took damage right there, and so I wanted to rotate to give them a different angle, and they got me.
Yeah, I mean, that was, you popped up and you died pretty quickly, right? You didn't necessarily know, we have the value of knowing now that there's 4 of them there. You
Right.
didn't necessarily know that when you hopped up there. And again, we want to take the high ground, but in this case, we see that
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the follows.
There's 4 of them. Rather than engaging in the fight, rather than taking the fight, just be like, nope. You want to just kind of back out and be like, well, that's not necessarily a fight we can win. But now we're on our mic. Look at our comp, right? We have a, we have a ball. Hey ball, there's 4 of them up top. Any chance you could boop them off? Could you slam them? Comms are a weapon too that we can use. It looks like ball is trying to go up there. We can't always count on the ball to do that, but just in this case, I think it's a really strong call for your ball to be like, hey ball, Ash Soldier and Ana on high ground. Can you want to try to go get him while we're kind of repositioning and taking a different angle, even if that's low ground in this case. So let's go ahead and keep playing. I also like the way you're using your cooldowns, in particular the dynamite, to kind of threaten both of them simultaneously. At the end of the day, on Ash, your dynamite is your single strongest tool for how you're going to farm Bob, right? Which is
Right.
is very strong. So usually we don't want to dynamite one person unless there's no better target and we're going to get it back beforehand. We want to try to use dynamite, hopefully from high ground, into the group of the enemies to catch as many of them on fire as possible. That way we're building ult charge as quickly as possible and rowing ults as well. This is where we start to talk about Overwatch as a resource driven game. Right, where all of a sudden we want to make sure we're using our resources to derive maximum value to in turn use our ultimates for maximum value. So we'll leave that conversation aside. Let's go ahead and keep watching your play from first person.
All right.
Bearing in mind that we hadn't talked about this stuff beforehand, so we're gonna forgive playing from low ground or taking pokes here. Good kill. Got the help. Focus him down. That's where we hop up die here. Nope, we're gonna try it again. Okay, so let's pause this.
Okay.
Or we can let it keep going. We'll just talk. Play it at half speed.
Okay.
So yeah, so we threw Bob up there. I'm assuming the logic in throwing Bob is saying, well, Bob can help even the fight, right? There's 1 of me and 2 of them. Bob makes 2 and 2. Let's go.
Exactly. Yep. That was exactly my thought. I was like, there's 2 of them up here, and this way I can give them a lot of pressure up there and hopefully be able to kill at least one and win the team fight.
For sure. Yeah, so Bob in particular, in this case, we have to consider that Bob is probably just going to run past them, and then maybe not be able to aggress them. And that being said, Bob is like almost the perfect macro example of an angle isolation, right? We want to throw Bob where he can threaten a lot of people, where he can shoot a lot of things because he doesn't miss. That guy's got real good aim.
Right. Sure does.
While simultaneously throwing Bob at someplace where he's not just going to get snap melted by the enemy team. So I told you we might talk about lanes later. In Overwatch, lanes kind of get complicated. I don't want you to think of lanes like League, but there are effectively 3 main lanes to track. I'm curious if anyone in chat knows what those lanes are. Regardless, those lanes are traditionally what I would consider main or default. That's where the cart is, right? The cart's kind of being pushed down main. Then high ground, which is where you are right now, about the highest of high grounds. I actually love this right now. But again, so pause this right here.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll talk about lanes in a second. But so lanes are default, high ground, and flank lanes. On Ash, you're trying to occupy which of those lanes? High ground, right?
High ground, always.
You can also threaten main. Like for example, Tracer tries to threaten flank, right? Reinhardt plays main. It's pretty clear. So it's always kind of your team's job. We dedicate resources in terms of lanes, right? So all of your resources on Ash are moving into the high ground lane. You on Ashe want to control the high ground. That's what we're talking about. Denying your opponents the high ground so that you can be most advantageous, which means you control the high ground lane. Well, if you control the high ground lane, that forces the other two players, the other two hit scans, which we know also want to control the high ground, to play from one of the other two lanes, right? Main or flank. Well, we just discussed their hit scans. They want to play from high ground. Forcing them to play one of the other two lanes is suboptimal for them. That's exactly what we want. We want to give them the suboptimal engagement. We want them the suboptimal position. They don't control those lanes well. Because they don't, we have heroes on the ground that do control those lanes well, so on and so forth. We're now controlling the majority of lanes and therefore making linear progress or creating space. We're not going to talk about all this right now, but that being said too, is I just wanted to talk really quick. If you back up maybe 5 seconds in this. So right here, right? Let's talk about angle ISOs. So what angle? Let's count the angles we threaten right here. So we threaten obviously right ahead of us. That's 90 degrees, right? We threaten the Baptiste, the Sigma. So we have right ahead of us. We threaten off to the right. We can threaten behind us. Not that anyone would be there. Right. We pretty much can threaten everything. We're at like the highest point in the map. We're king of the mountain. Right. Because we're king of the mountain, how many angles are we threatened by? Well,
all
the
of
answer's
them.
Right. The answer is pretty simple. It's the same ones, right? Like wherever they see us, we see them. So we're even. It's not a bad spot because we do have the high ground advantage, right? So we're controlling that high ground. But just in general, you know, high ground doesn't mean go the highest point we absolutely can. I'm glad you took it in this instance in general. That's great, especially because you know that they're kind of coming back from respawn, so you're trying to grab that damage as they come back in and get the jump on
also
the fight
diesel,
that. But that being said too, let's put ourselves in a position where we're going to be able to affect let's set up our angle isolations while we're definitely not threatened, aka while they're coming off respawn, to be able to potentially affect them. So I think that, you know, what if we predict what can happen here, and frankly, I think we actually kind of started to see it, is you hopped up there, you started to take the fight, and then what happened?
And then I got dislodged immediately, or died.
You did.
One or the other.
By the Ashe from 90 degrees, right? You started taking a ton of damage, and you're like, oh, gotta move. Right. So that's what happened. So maybe there was a place that we could have played that would have supported the goal of moving the payload. But again, that's that angle ISO thing, right? So and angle ISOs are difficult, and they, like I said, there's no such thing as perfect angle ISOs. It's always about trying to conceive of this in general. Like, I know Ashe is returning from respawn at this angle, so that means I can hide from her here while also threatening the tanks and try to stagger this Baptiste from here. Whatever it is, like whatever you're kind of thinking, that's the kind of stuff I want you to kind of be gluing into your head, where you're always one step ahead of the fight. And again, you're on high ground, you won, right? You have that control. So now you need to deny the other hit scans from getting back up to high ground and therefore dislodging you from the lane you want to control. Let's hit play. I feel like we're going a little deep on the macro side here. Yep. Good shot. Good dynamite. Good shot.
Thank you.
Again, dynamite resource wise, I don't know that we necessarily need it there, right? Because we probably could have just shot him twice and killed him and kept the dynamite. There's the Ashe. Okay, so you made yourself king of the mountain here and everyone saw you. The soldier, oh, we didn't need to drop. It's okay. Yeah, and we'll get there. That's, I think, one of the things that we're going to be working on here is that I might start having you give me push-ups every time you drop from high ground unnecessarily.
Okay.
I'm kidding, but
I'll get really strong.
Yeah. It's okay. Good. Let's take the fight. She dynamited us. Oh, all right. We were low.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So we caught our death there, but I mean, I do like starting to see you trying to move to high ground because you know it's where you should be. Again, let's just focus on that stuff for right now, and then let's talk about cooldown use. Good job. Again, that's a dynamite we didn't need to use. That's okay. We could have just shot him one more time, right? And then we would have had the cooldown in the tank.
True.
So when we talk about Overwatch as a resource-driven game, I sound like a broken record, but where should you? Yes. Good. So just in general, we talk about a resource-driven game. You know, dynamite is one of those resources, and it's one of your best resources for farming your actual best resource, right? So because of that, we want to save it for when we get maximum value. So I know it's kind of an instinct to throw it, shoot it, and then get the one shot on someone. But in reality, the whole point of the resource-driven game is at the end of the day, we're going to win the fight if our team has more resources to expend than the enemy team. Right? That's basic military math. They're basic math. No, that's not hard to figure out. If we can use more abilities than they can, well, we have the advantage in the fight. So robbing ourselves of those abilities before we get a chance to maximize them in the fight, it actually hurts our team. Not saying that you're hurting your team by confirming a kill on the soldier, but what you are robbing yourself of, frankly, is a little more value. So
they're a great team.
If you think of Overwatch as kind of one pool of resources versus another pool of resources, which is really all it is, we want to be the ones to use our resources second in general. Now, that doesn't mean we die before we use it. There are times when it's okay, but that just means we want to try to look for opportunities to derive lots of value from them. You get what I'm saying?
Of course, yes. That makes a lot of sense.
See, so that dynamite I don't hate. So that dynamite we almost use as a little bit of a zone, right? The soldier was kind of taking that left side, and you went, nah, you're gonna have to move.
Right.
So the dynamite, he doesn't want to explode. He kind of rotated back to his team. You know, that dynamite we kind of peeked. I don't know that we necessarily even needed to peek there and get shot. You know, and we died, but just in general, like sometimes we can use the resources to affect other resources. That's not just damage and give and take. In that case, we use a resource to affect zone, or a resource to affect position. Nice dynamite, we got the kill there. This is a good spot. Ugh. Cool. We want to reposition for more. Create dynamite. Great job. Cool. And you guys win. All right, let's take 1 second here.
Okay.
All right. Well, no, we can let this run while we kind of stage for second point. I'm just gonna try to catch up with chat and make sure there's no questions here.
So Diesel is Diesel runs a organization himself.
Oh, nice.
As well, he runs Hammer Down Esports. He's a fantastic gentleman with an even better beard.
Oh, that's awesome, man! That makes me beard insecure. I'm already beard insecure enough looking at you. I don't know if I can do too.
But yeah, awesome. Diesel's a fantastic dude. Absolutely fantastic guy.
That's awesome. Nice to meet you, Diesel. Good. I like the dynamite off the rip. You know, in that case, it's cool because we know we're gonna have it back before our next engage. You know, we know they're probably gonna outrun it because we really want to get that dynamite when they're all grouped up here.
Right.
This is our first big group, and then there it is. Good shot. Unlucky. I still, you know, I don't hate the play at all. This is great. You know, if you don't have clear shots on the enemy team, great dynamite. If you don't have clear shots, it looks like we actually didn't get anyone there. Must have had a shield or something. But if we don't have clear shots on the enemy team in that situation there, rather than wait for them to peek corners, don't be afraid to pump damage into shields.
Okay.
You know, again, we're trying to help our team. So like right here, right? We're poking, yes, we're poking, but like pre-fire that angle to see if they poke you, and if it hits the shield, that's not hurting anything. Good shots. Great job. Yeah, if they can't take you off this high ground, we just control the whole thing.
Oh, by the way, I typed in chat there real quick. I told the Widow that it was a good try.
Yeah, nice try. Almost poke. But that's a good thing, you know, right? So now we know now they have a Widow that threatens us, right? See, so like there's no need for this. Like in my opinion, like I'm not yelling at you, but like pushing up to the statue here, like yeah, we're looking to threaten more angles and stuff, but like they just showed a Widow, and that's okay probably at this elo, but like I'll tell you right now, if you imagine yourself 1,000 elo higher and you do that, and a Widow's coming out spawn, yeah, you
definitely did,
yeah. Yeah, I like that you're like value must get value, like the bloodthirst is real. Like push up for any incremental damage we can get, but like make them remove you from this space. You know, your value is clear, right? They switched to Widow because they're annoyed with you. You know, they're trying everything at this point.
And just there, I noticed that they swapped out to a Hanzo. The Widow swapped to Hans.
Perfect. Yep. So we saw the Hanzo. So now we know we're no longer threatened up here. Well, not as threatened by the Widow, I mean.
Right.
Yep. So they're gonna pre-fire you there. They don't like you. See, no need.
What's more unfortunate is that the Mei walled there too.
Yep.
Good play by the Mei. Unfortunate for the Bob.
It's unfortunate also, but like at this point, like you need to be out here. Like we need to be we watch. So back this up a bit. Let's back this up a bit.
Sure.
Yeah. So let's pay attention to where you are relative to the kill feed. Right. Good. We win this fight, but as they re-engage here after we drop, let's watch the kill feed and watch how long you are still kind of down on low ground, and not only low ground but kind of frontlining.
Okay.
Right, the kill feed is super important to pay attention to. Super important to pay attention to in particular because we want, you know, see that dynamite again. Like we talked about resources, right? Like we think that was maximized, maybe not. All right, so you know they're gonna pre-fire you, so we drop down. We throw Bob again. I don't love the Bob here. Your Mei walled, making it really unfortunate as well. But we said we just didn't need it at that point.
Right.
You know, I think that we could have, if we're alt tracking, right? We're talking about resources v resources. So let's actually, before we get into that, let's talk about kill feed. So both your tanks are dead.
Yeah, they both died at almost the exact same time too.
They did. They died. So what should you be doing?
Getting out. I did not know that they both died.
Yeah. So that's why, you know, kind of watching that kill feed super important, right?
Man, that happened so fast.
It does.
My whole team was alive, and then all except for two of us were dead. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know,
I just want to watch this because it's actually still hard, even watching it back now, for me to see this.
Yeah. Well, let's watch it. This is full speed, right? Yeah.
Yep, this is full speed. So
Cool.
so now I'm watching for like when everything happens. So that's my BAP. BAP's gone.
Back up. Yep. Okay. They tranced.
Yep. And there's my and then both of them are gone when I'm trying to engage the Cassidy, and that's it.
Unlucky. You know, we tried to retake high ground and missed it. You know, and they died. They both died pretty quick there.
Yep.
But just in general, like, imagine we never dropped in the first place. Right. And I know back it up. Go back.
Okay.
And for when you drop, we know we watched it a few times now, but you're staying here. You drop because you're like, I'm throwing Bob. But if you would have just been patient with Bob for 5 more seconds, throw Bob right to that corner on your right there, right ahead of you.
Yep.
We didn't need to throw it all the way behind them. They're just gonna They're just gonna drop or shield it anyway. Or better yet, we're alt tracking and we know the Zen has trance, right? But let's throw the Bob later in the fight to try to pull the trance out.
Right.
Right. We'll talk about, you know, attempting to intentionally trade resources for better resources. Trance being the objectively better resource in this case. But just in general, like if we never dropped at all, obviously they were kind of, the Hanzo had you pre'd, right? Or whoever it was on their team. Yeah, I think it was the Hanzo. Had you pre-fired there in that angle. He knew you were on high ground. That was his job to hunt for you.
Right.
You could have just not poked as aggressively. But if the Hanzo is shooting you on high ground, this is where lanes matter, right? Damage comes in and out. We can pause for a sec. Damage comes in and out of lanes the way it's allocated. So basically, lanes in Overwatch means you can apply damage to any of them at one time, right? We don't have the advantage of being able to damage multiple lanes simultaneously in general. So that being said, if the Hanzo's shooting you on high ground, what's the Hanzo not shooting?
Right.
Your double shield in front of you, right?
Yep.
So if Hanzo's not shooting the double shield, well, then your shields live forever.
Right.
Right. So if you occupy the Hanzo, even if you never peek, even if you hide, you're simply existing on the high ground. I'm starting to like feel myself kick this dead horse, right? But if you just exist on the high ground and don't even shoot, you're peeling their resources away from the lane which you are predominantly trying to control. In this case, that's main with a double shield poke. So they actually can't even, if he's either gonna look at you or he's gonna look at the shields. And if he's looking at you and then the shields stay up forever and the rest of your team pushes through him, then good, whatever, you win the fight. If he looks at them and then you peek and kill him, sweet. Right, then you win the fight. So
for sure,
it's like that's attritional value of you simply existing where you're supposed to. When you drop down again behind those shit, I know things happen fast, and in that situation in general, just kind of generalized situation, you drop down, well, now he doesn't have to choose, right? All of that firepower stays linear into the main lane, and he can do what his team has told him to do, which is get that Ashe off high ground and focus that Ashe. She's killing us, right? and he's kind of applying all of that damage that Hanzo can output into those shields. So let's keep going.
All right. Real quick, do you want to comment on anything that the chat said? So yeah, Giddy's talking. Diesel's bringing up some points as well.
Yep. Yeah. Diesel is actually exactly what I'm saying, right? So looking up, Diesel said your value here is threat presence. That's it. That's exactly it. Right. You threaten from there, and then the other team's attention is also a resource, 100%. Their attention is a resource, a mental resource, but also their attention translates to their firepower, which is their literal resource. So we just talked about that. Diesel's dead on.
Yep. Perfect. All right.
Yep.
Shall we continue?
Well, let me just keep catching up. Your team used Nano and Window. They did, Giddy, but we're focusing on what we do, right? So that being said, yes, I'm in agreement. You lost the fight as soon as you dropped an ult into their counters. I largely agree with that as well.
So we can play the what if game, but had our Mei not walled off my Bob,
sure,
that could have made a huge difference, because she left that wall up and they shot through the wall with Bob not being able to do anything too. But the Zen still tranced regardless. So
yeah, so I think what would have happened is that if Mei didn't wall off the Bob would have ran back right to that T junction there on the front stairs, and then the whole team would have either dropped or gone to either side of those statues or those annexes, and they would have just hidden from the Bob damage. Or they have an Ana, their Ana would have slept the Bob, or the Zen would have tranced about the same time that he did. Regardless, if you consider what would have happened, maybe it wasn't the highest value Bob from multiple angles. I'm agreeing with you that it would have been better than if your Mei unintentionally walled. Shit happens, right? Oops.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Of course.
The Mei walled the ball, that sucks. Ironically, the Bob standing where he was and actually occupying space were there, and then making it more difficult for them to aggress into you also isn't bad, for like a lot of the same reasons it happens if the Bob was behind. But just in general, that's kind of a whoops. But I think that we could have saved our Bob for, again, a better use, or better yet, going back to angle isolations, we could have put our Bob in an angle where he threatened just as much or almost as much and is threatened by significantly less. For example, in that front little annex corner, if you know what I'm talking about.
Right. Yep.
So,
okay. Yep. Cool. All right.
And then let me keep going here. Let's see. Would it be worth saving Bob for point in this case? Giddy, I don't know that I'd save Bob for point, right? What if they never make it to point? We want to use our resources, right? But I do think it's worth using Bob for something that's higher value, right? We can use Bob to replicate damage. We can use Bob to stall them
Evening,
up.
Indy. How are
I
you?
like the idea of trying to get the Bob, use the Bob, start building another Bob, right? We want to row resources. Again, if we generate more ultimates, which is our best resource, we use more ultimates, we win in general because we've used more resources. That being said, I think there were higher value Bobs in that situation. That being said, too, we could have used Bob for other things. Again, we could have used Bob to pull trance, which we didn't do in this case. That was largely because of the wall. We could have used the Bob to pull the trance. We could have used Bob to displace the enemy team. I wouldn't have saved it for point, but I would have saved it for where it would have had more impact. And unfortunately, we don't know where that would have been. So, I don't want to necessarily talk about the what ifs too much, but largely I think there's higher value here, but saving it just for the explicit purpose of contesting the point, should we need it. Maybe that day doesn't come. For every second that we're holding Bob is every second we're not building Bob, right? So we want to be gaining that resource. To answer your question, Giddy. Diesel says, I would say pressure Zen hard to draw out trance and then use Bob. Yeah, see, so that too is good. The Zen has been good about staying behind their shields. Just in general, I think that at this elo in particular, it's really strong trying to pressure.
Doing well, Andy, thanks.
We haven't really been talking about ult tracking and stuff like that because we're kind of focusing on more micro stuff. I do think that's largely strong. I also think using Bob to bait trance is extremely strong as well. Overall, though, if we are ult tracking and we know the Zen has the trance, for sure, right? We talk about target prioritization. Zen is also one of the heroes on our team that actually threatens you on high ground. That is so
true, Diesel.
Right? He can pre-aim your peak and right-click you up. You just die immediately.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that being said as well, we're kind of killing two birds with one stone if we're attempting to pull the trance and attempting to challenge one of the people that can affect where we want to play. Let's see, we got Bob Factory online. Yep. Let's see. Because I never count on a Bob contest point when a team has Ana. That's true, right? So we know they have Ana. We know Bob's probably going to get slept anyway. But again, resource trade. That being said, trading a Bob for a sleep dart is a pretty poor resource trade for us.
Very.
but just in general for sure. So Zen main here. Bob is not worth using trans for unless it's nanoed, right? So not necessarily. So I would say in general, it depends on the situation. If all of your team is low and like stuck in a place that someone throws a Bob that is a really intelligently angled Bob, where for example it's gonna wipe your team and stop your push. Maybe you already have them one down, and Bob is an attempt to kind of bring it to like a 5.5 versus 6 or a 6. Maybe trance has a lot of resource where you pop trance, you fill the whole team, and now all of a sudden you're not afraid of Bob and doesn't halt your momentum forward. In a vacuum, I would say that Bob does not output enough damage to equalize trance's healing, but you never know on the situation. So you can't say like, oh, never use trance for a Bob, right? Or never use bomb after you see when the Ryan has a shield. Like those kind of never statements don't exist in this game because of all the variability. But that being said, I in general I would say it's not a good trade for us. But if we can use Bob to pull a trance as a Zen main, trance you need to understand is a much better resource for your team than Bob is most of the time, we'll say. I hope that answers that question as well.
Cool. All right, let's go.
I like that, Diesel. You might have a coach in you somewhere. I like the position. All right, so stop. So you dropped up right away to kind of shoot the Zen. Why'd you drop down from there?
I wanted to get back to my team because I knew that my team were very far behind me.
You were feeling really threatened where you were?
Yeah. Because the Hanzo couldn't come up immediately.
Yeah, I'm using that as an example of a subconscious angle ISO.
So
you're like, whoa, looking at me.
Yep. So they have a Hanzo and a D.Va. So I couldn't really stay out there that long. I was hoping to get a quick pick and then get out.
Cool. So let's talk about something else really quickly. So they have a D.Va now. So D.Va contests you a little bit differently than the others do, right?
Right. Very much so.
So how does D.Va threaten you on high ground?
She can push me off of it.
She's gonna come up to you. She's gonna get in your face.
Yep. She comes up, get in my face, and then basically just forces me to move. Yep. Period.
So what is your most powerful weapon to remove a D.Va from your face?
Coach gun.
Right. So now we're burying in our head, right? Okay, I'm gonna be threatened by this, and I'm also gonna be threatened by the D.Va that could push me. If D.Va pushes me, I know I need to make sure I have my coach gun cooldown.
Oh, giddy.
That way I can remove D.Va from high ground with coach gun. Right. Or I can coach gun myself away. I can say, nope, get out of here. Coach gun the D.Va right off the high ground back to their team, and she's now stuck there with no mobility cooldown to be able to do anything about you. So just in general, in your brain now, we should be lodging, okay, I know I want to have coach gun, so I can't use coach gun as liberally to like just zoom about the map. Once I kind of establish my position, I know I need to have it in case the D.Va aggresses me. Or better yet, we know we need to pay attention to the D.Va's rocket jet cooldown.
That is very true.
So D.Va's mobility cooldown, her jets, we need to make sure we see D.Va use jets before we use coach gun. Make sense?
Right. Yep, makes sense.
Cool.
Same idea as if you're a hog and you wanna hook the D.Va into the pit.
Yeah,
she has boosters, and then you do nothing.
It's a great example. It's a great metaphor for sure. Yep. So yeah.
Okay.
Play.
Here we go.
Giddy. In general, yes, we know that she can use Matrix in. That's another thing we want to be careful of. But Matrix is such an active cooldown that we kind of want to track it as much as we can. That being said, we still want to kind of use it. You want to be watching the Matrix and the jets. Usually they'll happen at the same time. But yes, great point. The Matrix is great too. Hey, great dynamite there into the whole team over the mine shields.
Thank you.
Yep. Look, she tried to come up to you. She messed up. We didn't have to coach gun her off, but we didn't have it if we needed to.
I could have just shot him once. Yeah.
Yep. You're getting it. And then we could have dynamited the team, and we would have had Bob right now. It's okay though. We don't need it. See, that's a good dynamite. Over the wall, you know the Ana's half. You know, you probably have a chance of maybe just killing her with that. That's a time where I don't hate using the dynamite on a 1 or 2 for her rather than trying to generate value. Especially because we already have Bob. Good. I was about to yell. No need to shoot that lamp, not that it matters.
Somebody on my team called out that somebody was over here.
Oh, good. Great. Respond to calls. I love it. Audio cues and calls, so important. They win games themselves. Great dynamite. Great job. Do you see how powerful you are when you're on high ground?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Like you're just standing there, do you see how many how many headaches you're giving them? Like they hate it. Like right here, like we don't need to play out this far. Like there's no need. You know, we gain nothing by holding that front corner compared to the other. That's a good wall. We gain nothing from holding that front corner compared to the corner we were just holding before.
And I paid for it.
we used Coach Gun, so we didn't have the cooldown to get away from Nana Ryan. Your mate bailed you out. Another Bob, huge. Look, Bob shut down their push completely. Now we kill Ryan here. Good job. Oh, we were 30 health. We didn't necessarily need to re-peek. I might have backed up and been calling for heals, but overall it's okay. A couple more holds like that, and they don't do this. They can't do this.
Thanks, Giddy. I appreciate that, dude. Thank you. Huh. Sorry, my bad. I clicked back in.
So that Coach Gun must get away from you, soldier. Nice shot there.
Thank you. He complimented me on that too.
Nice. We have 19 health. We can't get too aggressive here. Yep, you're like, hello, please help, team. Yeah. Lucio, oh, another nice shot. Good. Looks great. I'll tell you right now, this doesn't look like flat gameplay.
Oh, thanks.
Yep. So we didn't have Coach Gun right away there. That cost us our life.
That was also really unfortunate. I got hit by the fire strike as I dropped.
Yep. Yikes. Yeah. I mean, we did have the Coach Gun to get away. And that being said, she also was smart, right? She saw you Coach Gun up there and went, okay, got her. And went flying up there to come get you. You and Diva are in a little bit of cat mouse in the sense that if she sees you go up to high ground with Coach Gun, she's like, all right, I know that, you know, he can't do shit about me going up there to get him. So she might come get you then. So, all right. So it looks like you guys need a little bit of a re-establish here. We have another Bob. We're rolling Bobs. That's good.
Oh, Giddy, thanks, man.
Yeah, for sure, Giddy, for sure.
Yeah, I threw Bob there to just try to do anything to help keep them from pushing in hard.
Sure.
And forcing us to all reset again.
Yeah, so before we throw Bob, what should we be thinking about?
Sleep Dart.
Sleep Dart, what else?
Sleep Dart, Defense Matrix a little bit.
Yeah, DM we don't care as much about, but for sure it can damage Bob. What else do they have that would be really high value if we could get out of them using Bob?
Beat.
Beat, right? So I don't know, assuming you know we knew Lucio didn't have it, so it was fine. Oh. That's
got him anyways.
Yeah, I wish we hit the dynamite because we would have lived, but it's okay.
Yep.
That's just a little thing. But yeah, so I mean, we want to make sure we're tracking beat, right? Because if you throw Bob and the Lucio goes, yeah, I don't care, and just beats it, right? Well, you know, if the beat was the plan anyway, well then Bob didn't do anything. Or alternatively, we use the Bob to pull the beat, and then we have Blizzard. You see how our trades on the line work here. Shots. We are really close. We don't need to be that close, but I like that I was on high ground. Big blizzard here.
That was a huge blizzard.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, we got him.
That's it.
Very nice, very nice. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and we'll hop out of VOD for a sec, and we'll talk about
sure.
I'll talk about, I think what I want to talk about are kind of like the major takeaways. So major takeaways from kind of like VOD session 1, right? So the first thing is, I bet you're never gonna guess what I'm gonna say.
Work on the high ground more.
High ground, right? we know that, right? High ground is our major takeaways, right?
Yep.
Second thing, angles. What angle do we threaten versus what angle are we threatened from while on high ground? And then the third thing, resource management, cooldowns, right? So when we're applying our cooldowns, whether that's D.Va coming up to us, we want to Coach Gunner down. When we're maximizing our dynamite, we're maximizing our healing pop, we're maximizing our helix rocket, right? Whatever those cooldowns are that we're using from high ground, let's derive maximum value from them. There's a lot more that can go into that, but that's basically the whole game on Hitscan.
Right, sure.
High ground and cooldown management. That's all of Overwatch. Cooldown management and then cooldown management, angle isolations wins you games in and of itself, or one of those things do. Regardless, I think that's kind of the next evolution. Once we do that, we'll start transitioning into intentionally applying damage to different lanes, talking about like kind of the ult tracking side of things more, and intentionally attempting to pull specific resources, specific cooldowns, specific potentially ultimates from enemies by making them make low value trade or low EV trades for them. For example, shoot hard pressure the Zen to get trance out. Well, that means the resource we've expended is bullets, and the resource they've expended is trance. Right? We'll take that trade all day.
It's a great trade.
Right.
Phenomenal trade.
Twice on Sunday, right? We'll take that. So that's kind of where we want to we'll transition into that stuff next. But for now, all I want you to think as we kind of transition to the next series of games here is I'm on the high ground. Do I threaten a good amount of angles? Am I exposed? And then on top of that, managing those resources and managing those threats, right? What threatens me from here? What do I need to focus on? And what do I need to make sure I'm using my cooldowns for? I know it's kind of a lot, but you're a smart guy, so I'm giving you a lot all at once.
Cool.
So that being said, it's going to take practice. Angle ISOs are difficult, and like I said, you are always getting better at them. Mine are not always perfect, and what will happen is you'll see now is you'll play a game, you'll watch, and you'll be like, oh my god, what am I doing? Why am I sitting there? Look where I'm being egressed from. I have the front. I have my 9 o'clock, and I have my 2 o'clock. Like, what am I doing? I can only threaten 12 o'clock from here. You'll always
thank you very much for the
look at it from that lens. It helps shift the focus to add a higher value to whatever we're doing, and that's the same for kind of any hit scan.
Sure.
Cool. We'll call that our first VOD.
All right. Sounds good.
And then we'll kind of push over to chat really quick, and verily I say to the high ground. Exactly. Yeah. We'll push over to chat and see if chat has anything else.
You forgot the most important thing for how to win games. Kill them before they kill you more often than they kill you.
Well, of course, right? We always want to do that. That's kind of what I'm hoping that all these things do for sure. Just shoot them forehead.
Yeah, exactly.
Shoot, click their heads. That works. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. Okay. Cool. Let's see here. We got a lot of chat to get caught up on there.
For sure. Let's see. So you guys see me looking over to my right. It's because I have chat over on the right of my screen here.
The man has a family, says Giddy.
Praise the high ground. You got it, Giddy.
Mm-hmm.
I love that half of your chat is like my players from TVCC. Shout out Texas.
That's amazing. Also, thank you guys so much for hopping in here. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you all very, very, very much for all the follows and how do you pronounce that? Magui?
Magui? Yeah.
I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. But thank you very much for the sub and gifting the sub. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
How to win short. I'm really struggling to not call their Twitch users by their real names in your chat. By the way, I've had to stop myself.
Jan, thank you very much for the compliment on the game.
Hit shots, don't die. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see. I may have to look at these coaching jobs for sure, Diesel. We should have a conversation. Do you think if you had more whiskey, you would have been more loose with your gameplay? That's my favorite comment of the night. Probably more loose. Probably necessarily doesn't help all of the things I just tried to cram into his brain in about 45 minutes.
Cool. Zach and I live on whiskey.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, not a bad thing. So, well, I guess it probably is a bad thing if there's too much of it. But
yeah.
So I guess I'll leave it to you what you want to do next. We can call the segment for tonight if you want. That was certainly a lot. Or I'm down to kind of, if you want to hop into like a quick play game, we can kind of talk about some of the stuff in real time. You know, it's your show.
Yeah. So let's take like just a quick like 3-minute break.
Sure.
Go use the restroom real quick. Grab a drink, and then come back. Hop into a quick play round. Just a live quick play, real quick, and then maybe finish it up after that.
That sounds great to me.
Sounds good? Okay, cool. All right, everybody. We'll be back in just a few. See you guys soon.
See you.
Hey, everybody. If you guys made it this far, it's the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. And enjoy some bloopers from all the takes that I had before this. Because as you noticed, the first words were take 12. Anyways, have a good one, guys. Peace. All right, first take. Let's go. So, second take. Today we are going to be hanging out with Coach Koby. Today we are going to be... Thank you guys so much for being here. Jeez. Today we have a review of a live recording. No. Take 7, I think. And my hair's in my face. Today we have some... Nope. Today we have a recording of Zyntelus has stopped. Hi everybody, thank you so much for being here. Today we have a prior live recording. How am I supposed to say that? Hello and welcome everybody. We have a live recording today. There's not... How can it be a live recording? That doesn't even make any sense. Take 10, I'm pretty sure. Hey everybody, thank you guys so much for being here, showing up. Today we have a recording from a live stream about a week ago. I hope that you guys like it a lot. The community that was watching it live certainly seemed to. No, that sucks. Take 11. My hair's in my face.